Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Shrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Shrimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gauda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai All glories to the Sum of devotees. All glories to the Sum of devotees. All glories to the Sum of devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 30, the Activities of the Prachetas, and we're on text 45. Tato Agni Marutau Rajan Amunchan Mukuto Rusha Mahim Nirvirudam Kartum Samvartaka Ivat Yaye Togni Marutau Rajan Amuchan Mukotorusha Mahim Nirve Mahim Nirvirudam Kartum Sambartaka Ivat Yaye Togni Marutao Rajan Amunchan Mukatorusha Mahim Nivirudham Mahim Nirvirudam Kartum Samvartaka Ivat Yaye. Please chant. Would you like to chant? All right. Okay, word by word. Tataha. Thereafter. Agni, fire. Marutau, and air. Rajan, O king. Amunchan, they emitted. Mukataha, from their mouths. Rusha, out of anger. Mahim, the earth. Nirvirudam, treeless. Kartum, to make. Samvartakaha, the fire of devastation. Eva, like. At Yaye, at the time of devastation. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. My dear King, at the time of devastation, Lord Shiva emits fire and air from his mouth out of anger. Comes out of Lord Shiva's mouth. To make the surface of the earth completely treeless, the Prachetas also emitted fire and air from their mouths. So Prachetas. Wasn't just like through mystic power, but right through their mouth. I mean, of course, it was mystical, but through their mouths. Purport. In this verse, Vidura is addressed as Rajan, which means, O king. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that a dhira never becomes angry because he is always situated in devotional service. Advanced devotees can control their senses. Therefore, a devotee can be addressed as Rajan. A king controls and rules in various ways among citizens. Similarly, one who can control his senses is the king of his senses. He is a Swami, or Goswami. The Swamis and Goswamis are therefore sometimes addressed as Maharaj, or king. Okay, I'll just read one more. 46. Vasmasat kriyamanam stan dhuman viksha pitamaha agatas shamayam asa putran barhishmato nayai. After seeing that all the trees on the surface of the earth were being turned to ashes, Lord Brahma immediately came to the sons of King Barhishman and pacified them with words of logic. Purport. Whenever there is some uncommon occurrence on any planet, Lord Brahma, being in charge of the whole universe, immediately comes to control the situation. Lord Brahma also came when Hiranyakashipu underwent severe penances and austerities and made the whole universe tremble. A responsible man in any establishment is always alert to keep peace and harmony within the establishment. Similarly, Lord Brahma is also allowed to keep peace and harmony within this universe. He consequently pacified the sons of King Barhishman with good logic. Om Gyanativirandasya Garanjana Shalakya Chakshul Malitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karidvachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dil Saranam Bansha Kapadri Bishta Kripa Sindhuve Vichapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Brahmanitananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauda Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So one has to become a dhira, which means undisturbed person, which is difficult because the very nature of this world, especially in this time we're in, it's disturbing. I think a lot of people within the last year have become very disturbed. Not that I think, it's a fact. That a lot of people become very disturbed. But we have to be dhira, which means undisturbed. And we become dhira, undisturbed, by hearing from a dhira, by a undisturbed person, or Srila Prabhupada says in the Sri Upanishad, a undisturbed authority on the science of Krishna consciousness. But still, it's the nature of this world. It's troubling. It's disturbing. So we may have to hear from a dhira for quite a while, until we become dhiras ourselves. And just like I was at the Las Vegas temple recently, and I was talking to a devotee there, and he's having a hard time, a tough time, because his son, recently, within the last year, he was in a car accident, and he passed away, died. So he's really, he's still trying to process that, still trying to overcome that. So there's so many difficult things like that, challenging things. And of course, sometimes people, they try to get around it. I mean, that's what the whole, right? Everybody's trying to do, get around the difficult circumstances. But and a lot of the times, people try to cheat, the system, like Hiranyakashipu. He was trying to cheat the system. Now, who could say what Hiranyakashipu, who could say how Hiranyakashipu was trying to cheat the system? How was he trying to cheat the system? Yes, Ravi. You have a mic for Ravi?
He was trying to use the knowledge or the tools of the Vedas for the wrong purpose.
Yeah. In what way? What was the specific benediction he was trying to get?
Yeah.
Or what did he actually? Wasn't trying to get it. He actually got it.
Yeah. So he was actually trying to be immortal.
Yeah.
And he wanted to rule over everyone, and especially he was envious of Lord Vishnu. So he wanted to. He had revenge in his heart.
Yeah.
So he wanted to be powerful in all ways, so that he could destroy Lord Vishnu and his devotees.
Yeah. Now someone else wants to say the specific benediction that he was asking for. Alex?
Like all the details of
Yeah.
well, so there's something like he didn't, like no human could kill him.
No human could kill him.
Wasn't it no human or animal?
Yes.
Yeah, no human or animal could kill him.
Or demigod.
Or demigod, yeah.
So he wanted to become immortal, so no human So he's asking Lord Brahma, please give me this benediction. No human, no animal, no demigod could kill me.
He couldn't be killed during the day or at night. He couldn't be killed, I think it was like inside or outside.
Yeah.
And there was another one, at least. On land, in the air and water.
Couldn't be killed by anything, right? Living or dead? Yeah.
I think that's all I remember.
Yeah. Well, that pretty much covers it. He was trying to cover his bases, right? Well, I want to become immortal, so please give me this benediction that I will not be killed by any human or any demigod or any animal, or inside or outside or in the land, air, or water, or by any living or dead. It's really, he thought he covered the base, right? Oh yeah, that's going to work out. All right, I'm good. But yeah, we all know how that ends up, right? Lord Nrsingadev, he came to protect Prahlada Maharaja, and still Nrsingadev, he kept all of the benedictions of Lord Brahma in place. So Hiranyakashipu was trying to cheat the system, trying to get out of the difficulties, the sufferings, the challenges of this world, right, by taking over the universe, but also trying to become immortal in a material way. But yeah, Nrsingadev, he managed to take care of Hiranyakashipu and still keep Lord Brahma's benedictions in place. That Hiranyakashipu, right, it wasn't how he killed him. It was in the threshold of the house, so it wasn't technically inside or outside, right? It was on the threshold. And it wasn't the day or night, it was, what, dusk? Is it? Yeah. It wasn't by any living or dead thing. His nails, because sometimes the nails are considered not to be living or dead. You cut them and there's no pain, Land, it wasn't on land, it was on the lap of Nrsingadev. So he managed to fulfill all the benedictions of. He didn't die by an animal or a demigod or a human being. It was a half man, a half lion incarnation of Krishna. So he managed to keep the Lord Brahma's benedictions in place. So yeah, there's these difficulties. They do exist in this material world, and there are many situations that can be a cause for disturbance. And therefore, this purport is saying that yes, you have to become dhira, undisturbed. The greatest example of that, becoming undisturbed, is Prahlada Maharaja. He was so fixed in his remembrance towards Krishna that he was able to. I'll just read a little bit from this. This is the 7th canto, 5th chapter of the Bhagavatam, text 43 and 44. There was so first it says it says Hiranyakashipu, he wanted Prahlada to be killed. Prahlada Maharaj, his son, 5-year-old son. So he hired these demons, Rakshasas, the servants of Hiranyakashipu, to do that. So this is 39 and 40. The demons, the servants of Hiranyakashipu, thus began striking the tender parts of Prahlada Maharaja's body with their tridents. The demons all had fearful faces, sharp teeth, and reddish coppery beards and hair, and they appeared extremely threatening, making a tumultuous sound, shouting, "Chop him up, pierce him." They began striking Prahlada Maharaj, who sat silently, meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then they give some different ways in which they tried to, and that didn't work, so they're trying in different ways. Text 44. Hiranyakashipu could not kill his son by throwing him beneath the feet of big elephants, throwing him among huge fearful snakes, employing destructive spells, hurling him from the top of a hill, conjuring up illusory tricks, administering poison, starving him, exposing him to severe cold, winds, fire, water, or throwing heavy stones to crush him. When Hiranyakashipu found that he could not in any way harm Prahlad, who was completely sinless, he was in great anxiety about what to do next. So Prahlada Maharaj, he was dhira. He was completely undisturbed despite all of these people trying to kill him. I mean, I don't know if anybody's had someone after them trying to kill them here. If you have, it's quite could be quite disturbing, quite spooky. I mean, even when like in high school or middle school, like if you have some. Might not be like a bully per se, like we may not have been, or people may have not been in the situation of always being bullied, but let's just say that you had somebody that's quite bigger than you, stronger than you, and quite intimidating. And in general, you could, try to take care of yourself. Means you're not being bullied all the time, but there's one particular kid who just happens to be very frightening to you. It could be a disturbing situation. What to speak if someone's out to kill you? So Prahlada Maharaj, they were out to kill him in so many different ways. A young boy, 5 years old, but he was undisturbed, remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then all of this wasn't working. So then Hiranyakashipu, in the 8th chapter, he becomes very disturbed, or he was disturbed the whole time. But when this is text 3, starting. When Hiranyakashipu understood the entire situation, he was extremely angry, so much so that his body trembled. Thus he finally decided to kill his son Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu was by nature very cruel, and feeling insulted began hissing like a snake trampled upon by someone's foot. His son Prahlad was peaceful, mild, and gentle. His senses were under control, and he stood before Hiranyakashipu with folded hands. According to Prahlad's age and behavior, he was not to be chastised. Yet with staring crooked eyes, Hiranyakashipu rebuked him with the following harsh words. Hiranyakashipu said, "O most impudent, most unintelligent disruptor of the family, O lowest of mankind, you have violated my power to rule you, and therefore you are an obstinate fool. Today I shall send you to the place of Yamaraj." My son Prahlad, you rascal, you know that when I am angry all the planets of the 3 worlds tremble, along with their chief rulers. But whose power has a rascal like you become so impudent that you appear fearless and overstep my power to rule you? Prahlada Maharaj said, "My dear king, the source of my strength, of which you are asking," Prahlada Maharaj said, "My dear king, the source of my strength, of which you are asking, is also the source of yours. Indeed, the original source of all kinds of strength is one. He is not only your strength or mine, but the only strength for everyone. Without him, no one can get any strength. Whether moving or not moving, superior or inferior, everyone, including Lord Brahma, is controlled by the strength of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And then Prahlada Maharaj continues to preach to his father. He says, this is text 9, "My dear father, please give up your demonic mentality. Do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends," which is a common point that Prahlada Maharaj brings up numerous times in his teachings. Don't discriminate between friends and enemies. It means everyone is part and parcels of Krishna, and therefore a devotee understanding this tries to broadcast Krishna's master would bring back the wayward souls to Krishna. Make your mind equipoised toward everyone. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there's no enemy within this world. When one sees everyone on the platform of equality, one then comes to the position of worshiping the Lord perfectly. And then Hiranyakashipu replied, "You rascal, you are trying to minimize my value as if you were better than me at controlling the senses?" So, it's kind of an amusing statement from Hiranyakashipu. He's even claiming to be in control of his senses. "This is over-intelligent. I can therefore understand that you desire to die at my hands, for this kind of nonsensical talk is indulged by those about to die. O most unfortunate Prahlad, you have always described a supreme being other than me, a supreme being who is above everything, who is the control of everyone, who is all-pervading. But where is he? If he is everywhere, then why is he not present before me in this pillar? Because you are speaking so much nonsense, I shall now sever your head from your body. Now let me see your most worshipful God come to protect you. I want to see it." Being obsessed with anger, Hiranyakashipu, who was very great in bodily strength, thus chastised his exalted devotee son Prahlad with harsh words, cursing him again and again. Hiranyakashipu took up his sword. Sword. Now, of course, there's a small, it's a detail, but when devotees, if any of you, and specifically younger devotees in the audience, you're going to give a Nrsingadev talk in the future, is a sword. Cursing him again and again, Hiranyakashipu took up his sword, got up from his royal throne, and with great anger, fist too. He took up his sword, but then, it says here, with great anger struck his fist with the column. And then from within that pillar came a fearful sound which appeared to crack the covering of the universe. O my dear Yudhishthira, this sound reached even the abodes of the demigods, like Lord Brahma. And when the demigods heard it, they thought, "Oh, now our planets are being destroyed." While showing his extraordinary prowess, Hiranyakashipu, who desired to kill his own son, heard that wonderful tumultuous sound which had never before been heard. Upon hearing the sound, the other leaders of the demons were afraid. None of them could find the origin of the sound in that assembly. To prove that the statement of his servant Prahlada Maharaja was substantial, in other words, to prove that the Supreme Lord is present everywhere, even within the pillar of an assembly hall, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, exhibited a wonderful form never before seen. The form was neither that of a man nor that of a lion. Thus the Lord appeared in his wonderful form in the assembly hall. So I'll just read two more. While Hiranyakashipu looked all around to find the source of the sound, that wonderful form of the Lord, which could not be ascertained to be either a man or a lion, emerged from the pillar. In amazement, Hiranyakashipu wondered, "What is this creature that is half man and half lion?" Hiranyakashipu studied the form of the Lord. This is a good description here. Trying to decide who the form of Lord Nrsingadev standing before him was. The Lord's form was extremely fearsome because of his angry eyes, which resembled molten gold, his shining mane, which expanded the dimensions of his fearful face, his deadly teeth, and his razor-sharp tongue, which moved about like a dueling sword. His ears were erect and motionless, and his nostrils and gaping mouth appeared like caves of a mountain. His jaws parted fearfully, and his entire body touched the sky. His neck was very short and thick, his chest broad, his waist thin, and the hairs on his body as white as the rays of the moon. His arms, which resembled flanks of soldiers, spread in all directions as he killed the demons, rogues, and atheists with his conch shell, disc, club, lotus, and other natural weapons. So, Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsingadev has appeared, and then we'll see what happens later. There's a battle that happens, but yeah, this Krishna he manifests in these different forms to annihilate the miscreants and protect his devotees. It says in the Bhagavad Gita, and the main thing it's out of affection for his devotees. That's the main thing, main reason. And Srila Prabhupada, he one time they had many times throughout the world, devotees would put on dramas for Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada really enjoyed them. There's some pictures of Prabhupada watching these dramas, but they did one in Juhu at the temple there when they're starting to build the temple, and they did a whole drama. Lord Nrsingadev was there, and bursting out of the pillar, and Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu, and the whole scene. And when Lord Nrsingadev burst out of the pillar, Prabhupada was sitting there. His eyes got very big. And devotees were feeling that Prabhupada was really entering these pastimes. He was really focused. And then after the drama there, all the devotees were sitting down in their costumes listening to Prabhupada give the talk on Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day. Prabhupada says something like, I'd like to thank Mr. Hiranyakashipu. He did a good job in the drama or something. So Prahlada Maharaja is such a great example of a pure devotee of a dhira, undisturbed. Now, of course, I don't think we'll be put in a situation like Prahlada Maharaj was put in. I don't think we've been in that situation or will be in that situation. But what we, as individuals in this room, will all have our challenges we have to face and try to pass those tests, not be disturbed. So Prahlada Maharaj, he was also a great preacher. And this is another way we could try to follow Prahlada Maharaj. It's not that the dhira is just a dhira, undisturbed person, and he just lives happily up in the Himalayas or wherever he lives. But the dhira is a preacher, is trying to spread God consciousness. And so how can we try to follow Prahlada Maharaj? Is that we could try to follow Prahlada Maharaj by giving people a chance to hear from Srila Prabhupada in the form of his books, distribution of books, and also learning the books and trying to communicate the message to people. It does work, actually. There is a change. And it's not that it just worked in the 60s and 70s and now it's not working. It's still working. People are changing due to association with Srila Prabhupada's books. Just like the other day, I at the Krishna Lounge met a group of people there. There were two friends, and anyways, one of them brought their 12-year-old brother, the other one brought their sister, and it was a big group. It was quite a group of people at the Krishna Lounge. And one of them was working at a library in Spring Valley, in the East County, here in San Diego. And apparently some devotee left some books in a library there. And she was a security guard. So she was working there, so she picked up the books. She was reading them. This is within the last 5 years. And her friend got a book at Comic-Con, the big convention down there. It's a great place to distribute books there. Tons of people. And do Harinam. Great place for Harinam. So her friend got a book at Comic-Con. She got a book at the library. And they were both reading it these last few years. And then just recently, one of their sisters was at La Jolla Cove. And she got a card, an invitation card, to the Krishna Lounge. So then she got the invitation. She invited her sister and their friend, and they brought all these people, and they came. And I was speaking with them, and nice, very nice people. And they were saying, we stopped eating meat because we read in the books that wasn't so good for this reason, this reason, this reason. And then she said, I was I read it and I heard it, and I was still eating meat, but my conscience was telling me, oh, this is bad. This is, I couldn't live with it, because once a good-hearted person, once they hear something, some knowledge, it's like, oh, they can't just continue in their ways. They have to try at least to try to change. So they feel bad, Like Prabhupada says, a good-hearted person, they do something wrong and they immediately feel remorseful. So she was feeling bad. I can't do this, anymore. So, but eventually she stopped. She stopped eating meat, and then her friend also reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and even some of the terminology, like at the Krishna Lounge talk, I use the terminology like Prabhupada would use, so-called society, right? Modern, advanced, so-called society. And then when I was speaking with her, she also used that term. She said, yes, yeah, like you said, so-called society, like she got it from Prabhupada's books. And so anyways, we're talking, and then I showed him the temple room, and the boy was also very young, 12-year-old, seemed like a very pious boy. For some reason, he was reminding me of Prahlada Maharaja, but seemed kind of, innocent. But so then we're in the temple room, and then one of them pulled out her phone, and then I kind of looked at the phone, and then I saw on her home screen the Hare Krishna mantra, the full thing, full mantra. So I looked at it, and she said, "Oh," I said, "Oh," hey. She said, "Oh yeah, look at what I got." I said, "Oh yeah, where'd you get that? Where'd you?" She said, "Oh, I got it online from some, social media platform. I got it online." She's like, "Yeah, I've had it on my phone for the last year." She's never been to the temple, and I said, "Oh, that's great." In English, yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And she says, "Yeah, I put it on my phone, and I've had it for the last year." And yeah, she's never been to the temple. And she said, "Yeah, I always carry around my phone around with me, so I just got it there, and it's on her home screen." So these are just, it's from getting Prabhupada's books and getting the association, and then they were thinking of coming for some time, but because her sister got a flyer, then, because that's how it works. Okay, the friend gets a book from the library, another friend gets a book from Comic-Con, the sister gets a flyer. So then I was joking with them, I told him, I said, "Oh, we've been trying to get your attention for a while." But that's how it works, that when devotees are out and about in some way or other, means there's smart box book distribution, there's whatever, there's so many different ways, somehow or other, we're letting people know we exist. Then, this person gets a book, this person gets a flyer, and then they're all connected. It's like, "Hey, yeah, I got a flyer, I got a book. Oh, yeah, well, maybe we should come by." That's actually how I first came to the temple, because I had a book from Radhanath Prabhu. I got a book in the wheelchair, Radhanath Prabhu. And the person I was working with, I was a bread cutter at a restaurant. So she also got a book, a Chant and Be Happy. So I said, "Oh, let's go to the temple." So then we came and we met Giraj Gopal, Brahmachari. So anyways, if we're able to give people an opportunity to hear the message of Krishna consciousness here from Srila Prabhupada's books, either us repeating them or them reading them, that is giving an opportunity to people to become dhira, which is the greatest thing they could become, a dhira devotee. So yeah, here this is being mentioned in the first purport, and then in the second purport it's mentioning how Lord Brahma comes down and how he's telling the Prachetas, hey, cool it down, literally, right? Things become a little bit too fired up, the fire is breathing from your mouth and you're burning so many trees. So he's saying with good logic, please just calm down. Stop this. So we'll hear more about what happens with Lord Brahma's words of logic and what the Prachetas do in the next few verses. So, does anybody have any comments or questions? Tomorrow's text 47.
I have a question.
Yeah. So tomorrow's 47.
I have a question.
Okay.
But I can wait if a senior devotee wants to go first.
His name is Vijay Krishna. Okay, you could go, Vijay Krishna.
Balaram Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances.
Please
All
my
glories
obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada.
to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. My question is related to the purpose of the first verse, 45. 4:30-45. And the quote is as follows. Quote, a king controls and rules in various ways among citizens. Similarly, one who can control his senses is the king of his senses. He is a Swami or Goswami. End quote. So, Prabhu, my question is in relation to the following. Here we see that we have two types of ruling. One is that we have one only person in charge, and this is the king, ruling over the senses, controlling the senses. And then we can go for allowing the senses to do the ruling.
Yes.
So, yes. In relation to this quote,
So what's the main essence of your question, Vijay?
The main essence is as follows. What is the difference between allowing a person who knows how to rule, to control the citizens, to control my senses, and give the power to the senses for them to rule? What is the difference between these two types of ruling?
I don't know. For some reason, I'm not following. Is anybody?
Now, is it?
Okay,
is it,
one second. I'll respond. Just Mukunda's going to help me for one moment here. Can you pass the mic to Mukunda, please?
If I understand correctly, Vijay Krishna is using the term Swami or Raj or Maharaj as both in terms of the king of one's senses and the king of one's citizens. And so there's different ways of ruling citizens. You can be in totally control of the citizens, or you can give the citizens votes or power, and then the king decides according to the citizens. So I think from that he's relating that to how does then a Maharaj relate to one's senses? Does one give completely restrict one's senses, or give one's senses some kind of engagement, or some kind of scope for decision?
Okay.
I think that's what he's saying.
Okay, that sounds good.
Balaram Prabhu, yes, Balaram Prabhu, if you allow me, because nowadays in the present moment we have people wanting to
Vijay Krishna.
Yes.
Whatever I've understood so far, I'll comment on. Okay.
No, Prabhu, wait. I need to say the following. Nowadays, people do not want kings. They do not want monarchy. They want the people for the people to rule in favor for the people. So what is the difference between monarchy in relation to devotional service and democracy?
Okay. Anyways, I'll comment on whatever I've understood. Okay. So monarchy and which means a king ruling, and versus people having a say in this and the voting and all that. The system of monarchy became spoiled due to so many bad or foolish kings exploiting the citizens. But if you have a great ruler like Maharaj Parikshit or Yudhishthira Maharaj, so many pure devotees of the Lord, there's nothing wrong with that king. Now, Srila Prabhupada would also criticize the followers of the citizens. He would say that, well, you don't like the leader, then you voted him in. I mean, it's your fault. But anyways, the main point being brought up in this, the essence of the purport here, as far as I understand it, is that a Swami is one who controls their senses, but to control the senses means to engage them. Vacho vegam, manaso kroda vegam, jiva vegam, adodapasta vegam. The nectar of instruction, that text 1 explains the qualifications of a spiritual master, one who can make disciples all over the world, and that is that they have to control their senses. And Prabhupada explains in the purport, which is the real thing we should try to take from this, is that Prabhupada explains in the purport of that nectar of instruction verse, text 1, that there's different ways of controlling the senses. We control our tongue by taking prasad at scheduled times, and this, there's different ways we engage our senses in Krishna's service. And that's what it means to be Goswami, to engage our senses in Krishna's service, and in that way they're controlled. They're not let wild to just take us to hell. So.
And if I may, Prabhu, what is the end result of the wild senses taking over our lives?
The end result, I just said, we go to hell.
What happened? Is it that I'm going to be ruined and destroyed?
Well, there's 3 gates to hell, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita: kama, krodha, lobha, lust, anger, greed. So this degrades our consciousness, and there's such a thing as temporary hell. So in other words, it doesn't lead to light, it doesn't lead to the spiritual world, it leads to darkness. So therefore we should control our senses and control our mind. All right, is there another...
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there another comment or question before we adjourn? Okay. All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.